alert, packed with because Dad said so, logic, and victory lap walks.
Hey, welcome to Dad Space, podcast for dads by dads. I'll be your host. I'm also a dad. Great to be here with you as Dave again for the podcast that I love to do called Dad Space. We're doing March DadNess. I know, you're like, Dave, I know, it's March Madness, but let's do March DadNess. This is our third episode this month with the March DadNess theme. We're going to talk about be the coach and the player, knowing when to lead and when to step back. As a dad, it's kind of a dance we do with our kids, right, in our family. When do we take the lead? When do we just let things happen? I'm going to talk about that here on Dad Space. It's March DadNess. I'm thrilled that you're here. Let's get into the conversation and chat about all things dad. Okay, here we go. I love this time of year. It's getting close to spring where I live here in Canada. Snow is still on the ground, sadly. Still need multiple layers to go outside, and we're not yet into our spring attire at this point here in Canada, but we're looking at soon, maybe, when the white stuff leaves the ground and we can actually see green grass again. But hey, we're getting there, and that's the best part. Wherever you are in March, I hope you're doing well. Hope your family's doing well. And this dad thing's getting easier, just a little bit, because you're here on Dad Space and you're learning how to take your basic knowledge of being a dad and you're up-leveling a little bit through the conversations, the guests. And just a shout out too, while we're doing this, you're a dad. So I would love to have you on the show to talk about your dad's story. You don't have to come on and have a book or have a coaching program or whatever. Just, I love having dads on to talk about their story. So as a dad, a fellow dad, you and I can get together, talk about our dad journey. This could be part of your legacy. Having your voice out there, talking about your family, so your kids can hear it one day. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, I think that'd be great. So reach out to me, dadspace.ca. Always looking for guests to come on, talk dad stuff. The more dads, the better. And that's what the show's all about. So if you're like, maybe I should go on Dave's show. Yeah, you should. You really, really, really should. And I'm longing for the day when I can have another dad here to talk dad stuff. So dadspace.ca. If you're a dad, that's all it takes to get on the show. Come on, dadspace.ca. Be my guest. Really. Come on. When I compare fatherhood to sports, because it is March DadNess, after all, when I compare fatherhood to sports, it's not always about staying in one position forever on the field, right? A great coach doesn't just shout instructions the same way to every player in every moment. A great coach, they study the game, they read the moments, and they know when to push and when to guide and when to let their player kind of work through the challenge on their own. They're there to support, but they're not there to tell them what to do. They're there to teach them, give them the tools, and let them make their own call on the field. Again, because the coach only can see what they can see, and the player has a better perception of what they see. But I think the combined point of view of the coach from the sidelines and the point of view of the player is a great combination, right? I really want to look at the evolving role of dads as their kids grow up, because not only are your kids changing, you're changing as a dad. You're different as your kids grow up. There's a new part of you that's required all the time. So yeah, you're growing and you're going to get better, by the way. You're going to get better at this. But just understand that as your children age, as your children go into new stages of life, you also are changing as well. So coaches change, coaches grow, coaches learn, and so do the players on the field. It's part of March DadNess. As an early dad, when we're first starting out, we often play more of the head coach role, right? We set the tone for our home. We call the plays. You'll do this and you'll do this then, and this is how you're going to do it. We teach the basics. We help them build confidence through repetition and through structure within our home. But as kids grow, the role begins to shift. Sometimes we actually become more of the assistant coach, which is odd because we were the coach. Now we're the assistant coach. And sometimes we're the bench coach. Like we eventually more of an advisor, kind of watching from the sidelines or way up in the booth with the screens and the monitors, right? We're ready when we're needed, but we're not always in the middle of every play. And we're not always consulted, which is a weird thing that happens when your kids get older. They don't come to you as much. They don't really ask your opinion. They don't need your feedback. They don't think they need your feedback. They do need your feedback. They don't think they need your feedback, and they don't come to you as often as you wish. They would, right? And the challenge for dads is knowing the difference between coaching and controlling. I think that's the big thing that I had to work through as a dad, is letting go, letting my kids be accountable for their decisions, even though I didn't agree with them in the moment. And coaching, I think, really helps your child to think, adapt, and to grow on their own. Controlling leaves no room for ownership for your kids. Ownership over their wins and ownership over their losses. And a controlling dad, I think, tries to win every possession for their kids. A coaching dad knows that some of the most important lessons come from the missed shots, the bad plays, the bad passes, and learning how to bounce back after a really tough game when the result is not what we wanted, right? It's a loss. Teams grow through their losses. Players grow through missed opportunities and bad plays. It happens. I think that connects well with the idea of letting our kids struggle without rescuing them too quickly. In sports, no player gets better if the coach runs onto the field every time something goes wrong and tries to fix it. They need reps, resistance, and they also need recovery as a player on the field. The same is true at home. Sometimes the best thing a dad can do is just stay calm and let the moment breathe. Trust that your child can work through it. I think this is really what we as dads can do, is we can build resilience in our kids. This is how it's built, by how we treat them. And I think that feedback from a coaching perspective also matters too. A great coach does not destroy confidence with shame. They correct with purpose, and they see the effort. They identify the opportunities for growth within the players on the field, and it gives them direction without making the player feel like they're insignificant or they keep screwing up or they're not good enough. That's not motivating at all. They don't make their players feel small. Dads can do the same by correcting behavior without attacking our kids' identity. The message becomes, you can do better, not you are the problem. There's a shift in our approach. So my kids are older now. They're in their 20s, right? And I'm an empty nester. I'm also a grandfather, so wow, I'm definitely old. As our kids get older, I think fathers also tend to transition from an authority figure role that we had when our kids were small to more of a trusted advisor. I think our relationship changes. You no longer are calling every play from the huddle. You are offering perspective. You're offering your wisdom, your support, but you're doing it when you're asked for it. You're not imposing it on your kids, right? The way you did when they were little. I think this shift can actually be really hard for dads. When we're used to being the ones that are needed, and needed in a direct way, but also one of the clearest signs that parenting is working is when your kids can operate on the field, your players can operate on the field without looking at you the whole time going, is this right? Am I doing it right? You've given them the tools for them to be successful on the field and through the game of life, right? You've built that into them through practice, through repetition, and support. You've already done that. From the day you brought them home from the hospital to today, you've already been working on that, building your team. The early years with our kids, they're all about direction. And the later years, I've been finding, are more about support. My kids aren't looking for me to direct their life at this stage in their 20s. They're not looking for that. They're looking for my support. They're looking for me to be there. I think the dads can learn by reviewing what has worked and what has not worked. That's why they have game film. That's why teams will watch not only their own players and review what happened in the course of a game, they also watch their competition to see where the weaknesses are, right? So that game film, that reflection, I think it really matters. And sometimes we just need to time out. Sometimes the best parenting move is just to pause before we react. I've not done this well, and I know that, and it's one thing that's on my list that I need to be aware of and conscious of all the time, is to be less reactive and more thoughtful in the moments where I'm frustrated, they're frustrated, we're all frustrated. The last thing I need to do is react, right? And I think that kids need space to build confidence and strength through their own experience without parroting or mimicking my experience. They need to figure this out for themselves. Our older kids do not need the same playbook as our younger ones do. So just because you have, like me, 3 kids, doesn't mean they're all on the same journey and everything works the same for each of them. They're all at different stages. They all have different strengths and weaknesses, even though all 3 of them are yours. These kids are yours, but they're all different. And you can't just copy paste. What worked for one doesn't work for the next. Keep that in mind. What I love about this March DadNess theme that we're doing this month is just leveraging all the sports analogies that I can think of and come up with and trying to use that as a framework to talk about how we as dads can be better dads. I think the job of being a dad is not to control the entire game that's happening on the field. That's impossible. There's too many unknowns, things that can change, things that go wrong, things beyond our control, that we can't control the game. Our goal as dads, and in sports references as a coach, is to help our kids grow into the players who can think on their own, adapt, recover, and lead themselves, make good decisions on the field when we can't jump on the field ourselves. And in this March DadNess, I think the real victory is not perfect control. I think the real victory for us as dad is raising kids who are ready for the next season, the next play, the next disappointment, and the next win. That's what we're supposed to build. Don't control the game. Don't control your kids. You can't control the outcome. You can't control good decisions and bad decisions. You can't control a win or a loss. All of these things are out of your hands. What you can control is how you show up, how you support, how you love, how you care, and how you listen. And just be okay with the fact that as your kids grow, you're going to change as a dad. And you don't have to be stuck in one way of parenting for the rest of your life. Grow and adapt along with your kids, because they're going to need a different side of you as they grow older. And when your kids get in their 20s and start having their own kids and you become a grandfather, you're going to realize that things change. And the best coaches adapt with their teams, lead from a place of servanthood, not a place of dominance. It's time for us as dads to step on the field, but only when it's time to celebrate and to cheer up and to build up our team, but to not get in the way and not take the ball and not try to do it all ourselves. Control the controllables and support as a dad, as a coach. And that's March DadNess. That is how we flip back and forth and how we support when it's time to lead and when it's time to step back. March DadNess. We got this, right? You got it. You got it. I got it. We got it. All right. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to the show. Happy March. Hey, dads, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of the podcast. Thank you for following the show. I'd encourage you to do just so if you haven't done so already. Look at your phone. There's like a little follow button or subscribe, or I don't know what it says on your screen, but there's like a little button at the top of the screen. If you click that button, that means every time a new episode of Dad Space shows up, it goes right to your phone. It's waiting for you whenever you're ready. So you don't have to try to remember, what's the name of that show? Space Dad? No, Dad Space. It'll show up right there for you if you follow the show. That'd be great. If you listen on Spotify, like I do, I'm a Spotify user. You can actually leave a comment in every episode, and I will respond as your faithful host to any comments you leave in the episodes. So please jump in. Love to read your comments, your thoughts about the episode. That'd be fun. And if ever you just want to just hang out with another dad, you got a few moments on your time in your day, in your week, and you're like, I'd just like to grab a virtual coffee with Dave. You can always buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com, but you could also just join me for a virtual coffee and we could just chat about dad stuff. I'm always looking forward to meet the people who listen to this show. That brings me a lot of joy. So dadspace.ca, all the information in the show notes. And thank you for being here. And thank you for sharing this podcast with one other dad. I really appreciate you. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you on the next episode. Take care.